Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. So today I'm going to be comparing the Samsung Galaxy A71 to the iPhone SE. The iPhone SE is the cheapest entry-level iPhone you can get right now. Don't get me wrong, the iPhone SE is not the cheapest iPhone you can get right now. The iPhone SE is the cheapest brand new iPhone you can get in 2020. While the Samsung Galaxy A71 is one of Samsung's top-of-the-line mid-range phone. So you can get the iPhone SE for $399 on Apple's website or on Amazon or eBay or wherever you get your phones. While you can get the Samsung Galaxy A71 for $300 to $350. I know there's still a price difference between both phones, but the price is not that much. I mean, just a $50 to maybe $70 price difference. So I've been using both phones for a while, and I noticed that Samsung has a different approach to budgets, while the iPhone SE has a different approach to budgets. I know some of you guys might have watched a comparison between the Samsung Galaxy A71 and the iPhone SE, but I just thought I should share Samsung's approach to budgets versus iPhone's approach to budgets in this video. But before I start, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Paul. On this channel, I do tech unboxing, tech review, and tech comparison just like this. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, smash the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified every single time I drop a new video. So I'm going to do a quick comparison between both phones. Then I'm going to talk about how Samsung managed to sell this phone for $350 and their approach to budgets on the Samsung Galaxy A71. Same thing on the iPhone SE. I'm going to talk about how Apple manages to sell the iPhone SE for $399. I mean, both phones are very amazing. I mean, they have a lot of flagship features, but they have different approach to budgets, and that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. So let's do a quick comparison between both phones, and I'm going to break it down into different categories. I'm going to start with the design. So the Samsung Galaxy A71 has a 6.7-inch display. Yeah, a 6.7-inch display, and it's actually a flat display. And at the back of the phone, you're going to find your quad camera setup. I'm going to talk more about the camera in a little bit. By the side of the phone, you're going to find your volume switch, your power button, and below the phone, you're going to find USB-C, headphone jack, and your speaker grill. And on the other side, you're going to find your SIM tray. And yeah, before I forget, on the screen, you're going to find your punch-hole camera. On the back of the phone, the edges of the phone are kind of curved towards the body of the phone. And that's about it for the design of the Samsung Galaxy A71. It has a very amazing design. I mean, look at it. Let's move on to the design of the iPhone SE. The design of the iPhone SE is actually very simple. A flat display, a 4.7-inch display, you get a Touch ID, a single camera system, your microphone at the top of the phone. By the side of the phone, you find your volume switch and your SIM tray. And on the other side, you're going to find your mute switch, your volume button, and I think that's it. And below the phone, you're going to find your lightning port. No USB-C. Yes, no USB-C on the iPhone SE, and your speaker grill. And that's about it for what you find below the phone. And the design is actually cool. The design is simple. The Apple logo at the center of the phone. That's pretty much it about the iPhone SE. So when it comes to the design, I'm going to go for the Samsung Galaxy A71. I just love the design of the Samsung Galaxy A71. Just look at it. Which one looks more flagship? In my own opinion, I'm going to go for the Samsung Galaxy A71. I mean, a 6.7-inch display, a quad camera setup. I mean, I'm not saying the camera is better, but I just love the design of the Samsung Galaxy A71. It looks so similar to the Note 10 Plus, except from the camera setup. But from the front of the phone, you can actually tell someone that this is a Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus, and they might actually believe for a second until they look at the back of the phone. So the design of the Samsung Galaxy A71 looks more recent, more modern than the iPhone SE. And don't get me wrong, the design of the iPhone SE is actually good. So now let's talk about the display on both phones, and I'm going to start with the Samsung Galaxy A71. The Samsung Galaxy A71 has a 6.7-inch OLED display. Yes, an OLED display. I mean, the one thing I love about the display on this phone is that it has a very high screen to body ratio. The bezel at the bottom is very little, and the bezel at the top is very little. I mean, like I said the other time, you could tell someone that this phone is a Note 10 Plus until boom, they check the back. No, you're lying, because the Note 10 Plus has a vertical camera setup. This also has a vertical camera setup, but it's thicker than the Note 10 Plus. So obviously, people are going to know that this is not a Note 10 Plus. But apart from that, you're going to think that this one is a flagship phone, and I love it for that. The display is not actually the brightest, but it's still manageable. The screen resolution of the Samsung Galaxy A71 comes in at a 1080p by 2400 pixels, and it has a pixel density of 393 ppi. I mean, the display spec on the Samsung Galaxy A71 is actually very close to flagship phones. But before I come to any conclusion, let's talk about this iPhone SE. As for the iPhone SE, you get a 4.7-inch LCD display. Yeah, a 4.7-inch LCD display. I mean, it's also averagely bright, and it has a screen resolution of 1334 by 750 and a pixel density of 326 ppi, which is lower than the Samsung Galaxy A71. Obviously, if you compare the display on the Samsung Galaxy A71 to that of the iPhone SE, the Samsung Galaxy A71 crushes the iPhone SE. And I also noticed that the brightness on the Samsung Galaxy A71 is higher than that of the iPhone SE. When it comes to display, comparing the Samsung Galaxy A71 to the iPhone SE side by side, the Samsung Galaxy A71 crushes the iPhone SE. So this is 2 points for the Samsung Galaxy A71. First for the design and the other one for display. So now let's talk about the battery life on both phones. And this time I'm going to start with the iPhone SE. The iPhone SE has an approximately 2000 mAh battery. I mean, obviously it's not the biggest battery you could get on the smartphone right now. And I would say the battery life on the iPhone SE lasts me for the most part of the day. Sometimes I get 8 to 10 hours on the iPhone SE, and sometimes I get less than that, depending on how I use the iPhone SE throughout the day. While the Samsung Galaxy A71 has a 4500 mAh battery, I mean, that is more than twice of that of the iPhone SE. I have no complaints about the battery of the Samsung Galaxy A71. I mean, it lasts me like a day and few hours. But don't get me wrong, the fact that the iPhone SE has a 2000 mAh battery and the Samsung Galaxy A71 has a 4500 mAh battery doesn't mean that the battery life on the Samsung Galaxy A71 is like twice of that of the iPhone SE, because sometimes the battery size doesn't really matter. It also comes down to software optimization. The Samsung Galaxy A71 still beats the iPhone SE when it comes to battery life. So now let's talk about the operating system on both phones, and I'm going to start with the Samsung Galaxy A71. Obviously, this is an Android phone, so it's powered by Android 10 with Samsung One UI skin on top of it. I mean, the operating system on this phone is actually very smooth. I have no complaint about the operating system. While on the iPhone SE, as at the time this video was recorded, the iPhone SE is powered by iOS 13.5.1. And this is where the iPhone SE begins to shine. For the next 6-7 years, the iPhone SE will continue to get software updates, which means that the iPhone SE will be more recent than the Samsung Galaxy A71 in the next couple of years. I don't think the Samsung Galaxy A71 is going to be getting any major upgrade, not that I know of. This is where the iPhone SE actually shines. You're going to get the updated security, and you're going to get top of the line software update, which means more software features and so many other cool stuff. So now let's talk about the RAM/processor, starting with the Samsung Galaxy A71. The Samsung Galaxy A71 has a 6GB of RAM and is powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon 730, which is a mid-range chip, while the iPhone SE has a 2GB of RAM and is powered by the A13 Bionic chip. And once again, this is where the iPhone SE actually shines, because the A13 Bionic chip is the same chip you get on the iPhone 11 Pro Max, which is the one I'm using to shoot this video right here, the iPhone 11 Pro Max. So when it comes to processing power, I'm going to get back to the iPhone SE. Now let's talk about security. On the Samsung Galaxy A71, you can secure your phone with PIN, password, face unlock, and in-display fingerprint reader. While on the iPhone SE, you only get two options: either use PIN or Touch ID. I'm gonna say the Touch ID on the iPhone SE is more secure than the Samsung Galaxy A71, because the Samsung Galaxy A71 is not an ultrasonic fingerprint reader. It's just a basic fingerprint reader, so I don't think it's gonna be more secure than the iPhone SE. But at the same time, I'm gonna give props to the Samsung Galaxy A71, because you get more options to secure your phone. You got PIN, you got password, face unlock, and the in-display fingerprint reader. While on the iPhone SE, you only get two options: is either you use PIN or your fingerprint, which is not bad actually, but the fact that you get more options on the Samsung Galaxy A71 is a good thing. So in this case, I'm gonna give half to the Samsung Galaxy A71 and half point to the iPhone SE for being more secured. While the reason why I'm giving the A71 is because you get more options to secure your phone. And before I talk about something else, the security I'm talking about is not like security from like online hacking and stuff like that. I'm talking about security from people like your sisters, your brother, and other family members from touching your phone. That's the kind of security I'm talking about. I'm not talking about online government hacking and stuff like that. I'm just talking about basic security from other people in your environment. So now let's talk about the front camera, starting with the Samsung Galaxy A71. The Samsung Galaxy A71 has a 32 megapixel f2.2 aperture, which can shoot HDR 1080p at 30 frames per second, while the iPhone SE has a 7 megapixel f2.2 aperture, which can also shoot HDR 1080p at 30 frames per second. The cameras are pretty much similar, but let's do a quick comparison right now. So let's take a selfie on both phones. I'm going to put it on the screen also. As you can see on the iPhone SE, the color contrast is actually more accurate than that on the Samsung Galaxy A71. The picture on the Samsung Galaxy A71 looks like it has some filter or something like that, but it's not that bad. I mean, it's not terrible. It depends on your choice. So now let's talk about the rear cameras on both phones, starting with the Samsung Galaxy A71. The Samsung Galaxy A71 is rocking a quad camera setup, the main camera being a 64 megapixel f1.8 aperture. It also has a 12 megapixel f2.2 ultra wide sensor, a 5 megapixel f2.4 macro lens, and it also has a 5 megapixel f2.2 depth sensor. The camera on the Samsung Galaxy A71 can shoot 4K at 30 frames per second. It can also shoot 1080p at 30 or 240 frames per second, and it can also shoot 1080 at 960 frames per second for super slow-mo. The iPhone SE has a single lens camera system, which is a 12 megapixel f1.8 aperture, and the camera on the iPhone SE can shoot 4K at 24, 30 or 60 frames per second, and it can shoot 1080p at 30 or 60 frames per second. It can also shoot 720p at 30 frames per second. So let's do a quick camera test between the iPhone SE and the Samsung Galaxy A71 real quick right now. Both phones actually takes good picture, but the color science on the iPhone SE, I don't know, I just love the contrast on the iPhone SE. The Samsung Galaxy A71 feels washed out a little bit. I don't know if it's like a filter or something like that. Same thing with the front camera, but the front camera on the iPhone SE is actually more superior than that of the Samsung Galaxy A71. So now that's it for the comparison between both phones. I'm just going to talk about how Samsung manages to make this phone a budget smartphone and sell it for $350, and how Apple manages to sell the iPhone SE for $399, even though both phones are amazing and they are very close to flagship phone. So now this is how Samsung made the Samsung Galaxy A71 a budget phone, and they're able to sell this phone for $350. In my opinion, the Samsung Galaxy A71 has a lot of flagship physical feature like screen to body ratio, which is very high. The design, the camera setup, the color actually looks good. It's very similar to that of the Note 10 Plus, but the internals are not going to last you for a very long time. And by internals, I mean by the processing chip, the Qualcomm Snapdragon 730. While on the iPhone SE, Apple used an old design, same design as the iPhone 8 that came out in 2017. But the thing that Apple did is that the phone is powered by the A13 Bionic chip. So, an old design, but a very powerful chip, which is the opposite of the Samsung Galaxy A71. A recent design, but the processing power is not very strong. So, a modern design with an average chip, or a whole design with a top-of-the-line chip. It all comes down to your choice. Anyways guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate you taking your time to watch my videos. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, press the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so you'll be notified every single time I drop a new video. Plus, tech season is about to start. The Samsung Galaxy Note 5 is coming up, the iPhone 12 is coming up, and so many other phones are coming up, and I'm going to try my best to unbox and review all those phones on my channel. So you might want to consider subscribing to my YouTube channel and turn on the notification bell. And I'm going to see you guys in my next video. Peace. Money.